Okay, which means that it will execute from starting to ending. Let's say, for example, if you're trying to insert one account record, correct? When you do your account insertion record, the process will be synchronous process. Okay, when I click on here new or update, okay, update anything I do, this is called a synchronization process. Okay, if I enter this fax number and then save, when I click on save, whatever is happening in the backend scenes, let's say the validation will be executed, right? And your triggers will be executed, and your your flows will be executed, the process builders will be executed, everything will be everything will be executed, right? That is called the synchronous process, which means that from save to end of the save, whatever transaction done in the backend is called a synchronization. Okay, which means continuation process. Simply saying, the continuation process is called the start to end. The continuation process is called the synchronization. Okay, here async. So asynchronization is exactly opposite to this, right? Asynchronization is something, but it will be separate thread. It will execute in a separate thread. You know about the threads, right? In your Java or any anyway, you will have the thread. So the thread is that's nothing but transaction. Do we need to stop for some more time? I don't know why Shika is pinging me. Okay, that's fine. We can just continue. Okay, understood, guys. So the transaction will be executed in a separate transaction is called the asynchronous process. These asynchronous process will be executed not in real time. Okay, real time will execute after some time. Okay, so why we need this asynchronous process and synchronous process in the Salesforce? Do you have any idea? So, do you know about the limitations? Correct. The Salesforce will have the corner limits, which is called the limitations. That we call it as a governor limits. Okay. These governor limits, if you have already know that we have a lot of governor limits because we are into the cloud platform. Correct. We should not write. We have to write anything within that limits. Let's say SOQLs should be only 100 within a transaction. So when I say transaction, this is a synchronous process. Starting of the transaction to the ending of the transaction, we should not have more than 100 SOQLs. We should not have no more than 150 DMS statements. Okay, and we have lot other things also. Okay, um, query records 50,000. So these are the limitations which we have. So to avoid or to overcome all these limitations, we have a asynchronous process. This asynchronous process will have a different corner limits, and it won't be calculated in a transaction. Okay, so this is a high level. I'm just saying this. Okay, we can discuss more and more about all these things. Okay, so first let's start about Let's, let's talk about execution flow. Okay, execution flow or steps. What is mean by execution flow or step? For any transaction, okay, for any transaction, as I said, from starting to ending, whatever the operations will done is called the transaction, and how it will be executed. You don't know what will execute first and then what execute will next, correct? Let's see here this account. Okay, let's see the timesheet. The timesheet have validation, the timesheet have the flows, the timesheet have the approval process, the timesheet has the process builder, correct? You don't know which one will execute first. So to have that process, the salesforce is having a some step by step process how and where it will be execution. Okay, first get the record data. Means what? Get the record data means what? Whatever we are trying to put the information over here, so this is called the get record data, right? Whatever we are putting here, this data is nothing but record data. Okay, first it will get all this record data. Next, system validation will be executed. So when I say system validation, let's say that if you have given a wrong thing here, so this is a system validation. Am I correct? So there are system validations and the custom validations we have. The system validation will be executed first. Okay. The next is before event triggers will be executed. Before event triggers, this part will be covered in the apex triggers. Okay. If you have any business logic in your triggers, that will be executed next. Okay. And the fourth one is custom validations. When I say custom validations, in the sense, for an object, we will have our custom validations. Correct? For each and every object, we will have the custom objects. Sorry, the custom validation rules that will be executed next. So if we have any of the validations over here, nothing is there. Okay, if we have anything in our objects, that validations will be executed next. These are called the custom validations. Okay, that will be executed. After triggers will be executed. After event triggers, event triggers will be executed. So this also will be covered in the apex trigger. Next, soft commit to the or soft save to the database, which means that it will be saved to the database, but it's not yet committed. If there is any errors after this, it will be rolled back and then the data will be deleted from the system. Okay. Next, once we have all these things, correct? What happens is it will execute the workflows. Next, process builders. Next, flows events. Flows, excuse me. Assignment rules if we have any. Auto response rules if we have any. Okay. duplicate rules if we have any, so etc. So and uh, the formula fields will be executed at the last, and the last thing is commit to database. Okay, so these are the sequence of steps that will be executed when you do any action in a record. Behind the scenes, these many operations will be worked out. Okay, you might not be, you know, you might not understand what is these means, but when you are doing any operation, when you are doing an insert or update or delete, these many operations will be executed in the backend. This is very very important for you guys to understand. Okay, to do any of the development or to do any of the debugging things, you should understand this one. Okay, how the record will be executed. Let's say if you have some issues on the custom validations, only you know if you know exactly how the flow, I mean the execution flow will be processed, correct? Otherwise you won't understand this. Okay, are we clear up to this? Okay, so if we are clear on this one, let's start about the triggers. How many of you know about, I mean, what you know about the triggers? I said just now, right? An event occurs. Mhm. Yes, someone is answering. Sorry. If any event happens, okay, when any event happens, the trigger will be placed to have the business logic, correct? Any business logic if we want to execute when the after, when we click on the event, that will be taken place in the triggers. Okay, trigger is nothing but just an event happens, okay, on a data, on the data. Okay, the trigger will be placed. So here we have two types of events are there. Okay, one is before event and second is after event. So you have to really understand what is meaning of these two things. Before is what and after is what. I've already mentioned here, right? Before is something different and after is something different. Okay, before in the sense, before doing any of the soft commits to the database, I think this is in a ulta, has to be executed here. Okay, this is a fifth one and it should be sixth one. Okay, so before we soft save the record to the database, whatever we do, that is called the before record save, soft save. After means once we soft saved the record to the database, whatever we want to do the transaction, that is called the after. Okay. So again, in the before and after events, we have lot of DML statements, right? Or their context variables. So sorry, the trigger context variables are different. But trigger events. Okay. So here, what we have when we say before, we have insert operation, correct? before update, before delete. Correct? So if we have these operations in our DML, it won't support the upset. We have one more thing called upset, but upset will not be supporting the triggers. Okay, remember that. Upset means upset means insert plus update is nothing but the upset. Okay, we can discuss about this more later. Okay. So in the DML statements are the trigger events. We have the before insert, after I mean sorry, before insert, before update, before delete. Like that we have after insert, after update, after delete. Correct? We have these many events are there. Trigger events. So this is called the trigger events. Okay. For each and everything we have the event. So let's say if I want to write down a logic only on the insert, I can use only the insert. Correct. I no need to have the logic in the update and delete. Whenever my business logic is required, whether it is insert or update or deleted, those situations only I put my logic inside of these events. Okay, understood? Next thing is trigger context variables. So these are the trigger context variables. Again, these are the very, very important thing. Why? Because we have to set the context for the trigger, when it has to be executed, at what time it has to be executed, and what time it has to be terminated. Correct? And what are the things which we can access from the trigger. So that is called the context variables. You know, we have before insert. If I want to check whether I am in the right transaction or not, event or not, so for that one we have is before insert. Okay, is after. Sorry, we have is before, is after. These are the things like that. Is insert, is update. Come on, is delete. Okay, we have something called trigger.new. This is very, very important. Trigger.old, trigger.new map, trigger.old map. We have these many context variables are there. Let's say that if I want to execute my logic in the before insert, okay, so I can set that the context and return my logic. If I want to execute my logic in the after update, is update. In my if condition, I will have this context. Only if the context is matched, then only I will execute my business logic. Correct? So what are these other things? Okay, let's talk about this. What is mean by trigger.new? I said a lot of times, right? New is nothing but whatever the values which we are getting in, whether it is insert or update. Okay, if you are modifying this value, the new value is what? A new value is this, correct? So what and all the on the record, what are the latest values which is displaying on the this screen is nothing, is nothing but trigger.new. If we want to access all these values in a trigger, if we want to access all these values in a trigger, what we have to do is we have to use the trigger.new. If we use this context variable, what it returns is whatever the latest value which user entered, that will be hold in this variable. Okay, so that is nothing but current values of a record. It will hold the current value of the record. Old is what? Old value, which is nothing but the previous values of the record. We saw this one in our validations also, correct? We have the previous value. Let's say for this one, if I'm changing the training to training test, the current value is training test and the old value is only the training, correct? So to differentiate these two things are to check these two things. Sorry, there's someone is talking. This triggered at new or everything. Trigger.new is nothing but the current values of a record. Okay. First, understand when the trigger will be executed. When an event happens. Correct. Now the event is this. Now I'm updating this record. Update is an event here. Correct. When I click on this, the record will go through these processes. These many execution process will be executed here. Okay. When I say save, that is called the update. When we do the update, if we have any triggers in our organization which is resides on the same object, then that related event will be executed. Let's say now I'm doing the update. This update event will be executed, and if I want to check what is the current value and what is the old value, because if I want to write down any of the business logics, I must compare whether the value has been changed or not, correct? How I can't simply write the logic. Let's say that let me give you a little more example over here. We have account here, right? Let's say if I change the annual revenue only, I have to change my rating. Otherwise, I should not change this. So in this case, my logic should not be executed if the value is not changed. Correct? Let's say I'm updating the billing address, not the annual revenue. If I save, my logic related to this should not be executed. Correct? This is an unnecessary burden for the system. Unwanted things should not be executed unnecessarily. Okay. To execute this, what I need to do is in the trigger.new, let's say if I change it to 500 to 1000. Now my trigger.new value is what? What is my new value here? 1000 is my new value. And what is my old value? Yes. So if you have, so in this variable, the account record of that revenue will be holds that as a 500. I mean the 1000. Here it will hold the 500. Now I can compare these two things, right? Old value and new value of this field is not same. Then only I have to execute this. Correct? Then your system will execute it only at that point of time. Otherwise, your system will always execute. Correct? We should not do that. Whenever your business logic should be executed, at that point of time only you have to execute. Remaining times you should not do anything. Okay. So this is the one thing. Again, always remember that there is a one important thing here. The trigger dot will be not used in before insert. Not used in the insert operations. Why we are not going to use the trigger.world in the insert operation? Any idea? In the insert, there is no old value, correct? Insert is always the new values. There is no old value. That's a fresh values, correct? So insert will hold only the fresh values. It doesn't have the trigger.world. The old will be used only in the update delete operations. Okay, understood, guys? Okay, like that we have, this is a new and this is new map and old map. So these things we can understand once we have the collection in the place. Okay, I'll explain you those things now. Okay, so map. Okay, collections. How many of you know about collections? In Salesforce, we have list. Come on, set. So we have three types of collections we have in the Salesforce: list, set, and map. Okay, list is what? Unordered data and have the duplicate values or records in it. Okay, syntax you can just see here: list of anything here. So if I say anything, this is called the data type, any data type. So in the, when I say any data type, that you have many data type sets, right? You have string, integer, decimal, a subject. So when I say a subject, that is called the Salesforce object. Okay, this Salesforce object will contain any of the object like account, contact, lead, case, etc. Anything. Okay, you can use anything, and the date also. Any data type which we have supported by the Salesforce, those things will be used in our list. Okay, here you have to list variable, list value equals to, when you are assigning anything, you have to always use the new. It will create a space for your variable of list value. Okay, and list of any data type and close your method. So this is a simple syntax here. Okay, in this syntax it may contains anything. It may contains the duplicate values and it is a unordered list. Okay, example is list of, let's say the string, list of fruits. Okay, let's say list of string. I'm assigning the value, and now for this instance of the variable dot add of apple. Okay, I'm adding the values here. Add means the methods, we have a lot of methods here. We can see that, in our Salesforce the documentation. Okay, add, remove, contains, all these things, index of, index value of, lot of methods will be, executed in this list. Mango. So I can add anything over here. So as I said, it will still accept the duplicate. When I say duplicate, again I can add my apple over here. So the result is, it will say apple comma mango comma apple. Am I correct? So the list will be contain something like this. Okay, the trigger dot new also will be falls under the list. So it will be also look like the exactly same list of object name here. Let's say our trigger is written on the account. It will be list of accounts. Okay, new account is my variable. Then trigger dot new. If I assign something like this, whatever the values presented in the trigger, all that records will be stored in the new record list. Okay, this is a list variable. Understood, guys? Okay. So next thing is set. What is the meaning of set? So why we have a set here? Set is a order list and no duplicates here. Okay. It will also have the same thing. I'll take the same example over here. Okay. Any data type instead of the list, I can use this set here. Okay. Set value over here. Set of okay. Let's take these fruits. Okay. The same example, but only the change here is what it does is now it will return only apple and mango because I said it will eliminate the duplicates. Correct? It won't accept the duplicate values. Even if you try to add the duplicate value, it will remove and it will take only one value. Okay? Understood, guys? And this method also you will have the lot of methods like add, remove, contains. So let's say dot contains of apple. If I use this, it is the return type of boolean. The boolean what it does is it will return either true or false. In this set of values, do we have a apple or not? So I have the apple, right? So it will returns true. Correct? If I want to check whether this contains banana, it returns false because it doesn't in my set. I don't have the name of the banana. Correct? So to check whether my list of my collection contains any of a specific value, I can use the contains. If I want to add any of the value, I can use the add. If I want to remove any of the value, okay, dot remove of apple. If I use that, it will remove the apple. Okay. So you have so many methods in a list, set, and map also. So I'll show you those things. Okay. So like that, the map is a little different here. Map is a unique. It's a key value pair. In the sense what? So a map is always will have a key. This key is unique and value might be duplicate. Okay. So this value will take any of the again one more any of the collection. Let's say list or set or map again. Okay. Or it will contain only the different data types. The syntax is here. Okay. The keys always contains only the few things, not all the things. It should not be collection. Okay. It should be only data types. Okay. Value will be any data types or any the collections here again. Okay. Map value equals to new map of the same syntax. I can use it here. Okay. So example, map string comma string is a one example. Okay, map uh, vehicles. Okay, equals to new map of string comma string. When I use the string comma string is what? It will accept the key as a string and value also as a string. Correct? So the example is this. For the map, it will be taken in a different way. Map dot. So here, list and set we will use add to add a value, but here we'll put a value because it's a map, right? R. Okay. R is what? I would say the type of the car. I'll put the string again as a Kia is my car. Okay. Map dot put of bike. My bike name is Hero. Okay. Again, map put of bicycle. Right. Bicycles will have anything. ASEAN. Anything, correct? So now if you see the key is a car and value is the key, correct? So I'll take in a other words here. The car will have a n number of companies, correct? Vehicle companies. So now in this case, what I have to do is I have to change my map because the key is same. Key is a car, but values will be changed. My car with any other company, correct? So here key is only one, and this one is a set of sorry list of string. The only reason is one car will have a multiple brands, correct? So for one key, one car, I can have a multiple brands. So let's see how it works here. Okay, dot put of car is my vehicle, and here I'm using the list of strings, correct? So here the list of strings we have to declare over here. List of cars equals to new list of cars. Here you can mention the list of car companies here. Okay, you will have what are the things you can have, or else if you don't want to use it here, okay, in the cars, right, you will have the BMW is a one model. We have a lot of other companies, right? BMW, uh, Kia, Hyundai, Maruti, uh, Mahindra, right? So now what I can do simply here, the cars is I can put the list of the cars over here. If I execute this statement, what happens? List of the when I say the car will have these different the companies over here. So this is nothing but the map with a key comma list of again collection of the value, right? We can use any of the collections. Understood, guys? I know that it may be confusing, but I will show you this here. Okay. So the development again, I said we can execute the development in multiple places. If you want to execute any of the some piece of code, use the anonymous window. Here in the developer console, you have a debug and execute anonymous window. Okay. So whatever we have done this so far, let's see how it works. So to test anything, we have to have our the print screen. What we have is system.debug. Okay. Now I can put check fruit values. Okay. So here I can display the list of fruits which I have added over here. If you execute this, now execute this, open a log and execute. If you see here, it will be executed. As I said, right, every execution will take in a place with a lot of steps. This is called the debugging things. When you have any problems in your code or anything, you have to debug or you have to troubleshoot in this way. Okay, that we can check once again if you want. So we have this here option called the debug only. If I click on the debug only, if you see here, I have added apple, mango, apple. Correct. This is my output here. This is my result here. Correct. Understood, guys? And the limits. I said the limits. Sorry. Someone have any questions? Yeah. So if we want to check what are the limits we have used here, it will be display here. I said right, limits. Number of SQL queries is only 100. Out of 100, I have used 0. This is my entire transaction. The transaction in the sense when I click execute from the starting here. If you see here, right, this is starting. The code unit was started here. From starting to execution started to execution ended. Okay, execution finished. Until that, whatever is happening in between, that is called the transaction. Understood, guys? Anything, any transaction. It may be the record, it may be our anonymous code, or it may be our Apex code, or it may be our trigger code. Correct? Anything will be happens in the starting of the code and the ending of the code. In between, whatever is happened, that is called the synchronous process. This is called the synchronous process, and whatever is happening in between, the limits will be calculated. You can see all the limits here. Correct? Understood, guys? Let's take one more example here with the list. Let's see a simple thing. If I want to get a list of accounts, okay, list of accounts from my organizations. So I'm writing the SOQL over here, but we can discuss more about the SOQL, how it works. Okay. I'm putting only the limit as 10. Okay. Let's see if I execute only this line. If I want to execute only this line, highlight that and use the execute highlighted. Okay. That will be executed. Here you can see now. So this execution was happened with a list of accounts where this variable has been assigned here, and from this point how many bytes it has been assigned, and then what is the aggregation limits and the 10 rows here, right? This SOQL was executed and it returned the 10 rows in the sense records. Okay, because I put the 10, it returns the 10. And you have the variable here, list of account variable, and it's large to display here, but it won't display here, but we can see that in the down. Okay, if you see the limits here, number of SQLs used 1, because I use the one SQL here, right? That's the reason it is giving me 1 out of 10. And how many rows I have retrieved? I've retrieved the 10 rows out of 50,000 records. I didn't do any of the DML statements or anything else. So at this moment, I'm good. And my code was done. Correct? Understood, guys? If you want to see exact values of whatever is displayed over here, put your debug logs. These debug logs will give you the values. What is the values which, what is the 10 records which you have here, right? In the system debug only. Now if you see the debug only, account record id name, account record id name, account record id name, right? You can have the 10 values like something like this: 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, right? Something like this you can see. So this is how the list will be contained. Understood, guys? Or you have any other questions on these collections? Okay. In the same fashion, we can do our set also. Okay. Only the limitation with the set is you can't do any of the DML statements, or you can't do any of the sockets using the set. Okay. Otherwise, everything will be used on the set. Okay. This is also will be exactly same as this, but only the difference is, as I said, it's a set. Correct. If I execute this now with a set, the result would be only apple and mango. Correct. You see here only apple and mango, because the set will eliminate the duplicate things. Correct. So if we don't want to have any of the duplicate records or duplicate values, we can use the set. Yes. Yes, I'll tell you this. VS Code, lot of people, it has some intelligence. Okay. If I type something, it will automatically populated if I have a project here. Until now, I don't have any project here, correct? So it won't have any plugins or displaying over here. I have a lot of plugins to play with it. Also, LWC component will not be created using this. Okay, we can't create a LWC using this. To develop any of the LWC, you should have the Visual Studio. Okay, these Visual Studio, how we can effectively use, I'll explain tomorrow. But today is more of the only the things which we want to understand. Okay, what are the different things which we have to know before we start the development? Okay, before starting of development, we must understand the collections, right? And we must understand the data types. Data types we already saw that, right? We already saw in our new fields: string, integer, decimal, a subject, date, date time, right? These are the different data types which we have in our Apex code or anything. This is a S object. When I say S object, is nothing but the Salesforce object. And when I say Salesforce object, it may be any standard object or any of the custom object, right? Any of the custom object also. S object in a sense. Okay. If we know about these basic things, these are the basic things, correct? If you understand all these basic things, it is very easy to understand in the Apex classes, triggers, and asynchronous processes. Okay. You guys are trying to understand at least the data types and what are the collections at, at this time. Only these two things. Are you guys able to understand or not? What is mean by data types and what are the collections we have? Yeah. So if you are very familiar with these two things, then only we can move forward to achieve all these things. Okay. So also, someone was asking me why we need this VBS code, right? I'll show you tomorrow how it's easy to develop any of the coding using the VS code instead of this one. Okay, this is very hard to implement because it won't gives me any of these things. Correct? I have to write everything. Okay, intelligence. So that is called the intelligence. This intelligence will not be coming to picture with the developer console, but this developer console is more familiar to debug. Okay, so I can stop up to here, but I want you guys to, you know, uh, collections in Apex. So I'll give you this link for you guys. Okay, try to understand these links. So this link will contain, see here, you have the data types, you have the primitive data types and list set maps. Okay, these things you can understand here. Okay, this part and this one. Okay, as I said, for each and everything. Yes, I will do. I will do. I will do. I will do. Okay, and here also, if you have this list collection, you have a separate methods again. Okay, set methods. These are the only the things which you can do, but the size and all, but methods also there. Okay, you can just list methods, list class. So you have this something called the list class. Okay, I'll share this list class with you also. Okay, if you have this list class, you can have these many methods. You can have the parameters. See here the list of methods which a list contains. I said add index to which element, and add all, which means it will add everything. Okay, clear, which will clear all the values. Clone, it will be duplicate of the value. Contains, which we discussed, right? If I want to search of any of the value from the list, I can use the contains. Deep clone equals to, if I want to compare the two lists, this is equals to get. So get in the sense, if we want to get a particular value from the index, right? So this is called the get. So we have, a lot of things, methods, right? I'll share with these two things with you. Okay, go through it, so it will gives you more understanding. Okay, so here mostly what we use is, we use list, add all, clear, contains, get, is empty, size and sort. These things we use mostly in our development, but still if you want to explore all these things, we can have the examples also in this. Each and every method will have the example. Let's say the sort, everybody knows about the sort, correct? Sort in the sense, it will be sort alphabetically. If I do this sort, list dot sort, in the sense, it will display apple mango because it's alphabets, correct? And the size, if if I would like to know what is the size of my list is, then what I do is I'll just use this size. These are the just a methods we will use whenever we required. Okay, size in the sense, what, how many records are there in this one. Let's say if I have 0 1 2 records are there, so total 3 records, everything will be start from the 0, correct? My size of list is 3 here. Okay, so something like this, we have a lot of methods exist in these things. I'll share these links with you. Okay, in the Skype, data types and collection link, list class methods. Okay. See, in Salesforce, everything will be treated as a class. Okay. List is one class. Set is also a one class. Okay. I can use these things. Sure. So, however, we have the list class here. You have the map class also here. Okay. Also, you will have the set class here. Okay. If you type with the set class, come on, set class, you'll see the set class also here. Okay. All the things will be stored in the same document which I shared here. Okay. This will contains everything. Class and map class with methods. Okay. So first try to understand these things, and tomorrow we can discuss more about how to create a trigger, how to use the VS code. Okay. So I hope everybody is installing this, right? I'll share with you, okay, on these things. Okay. I've shared everything with you guys. Okay. Just try to understand these things, but don't go into this trigger part yet. Okay. What I gave you is I just gave you the high level and the flow of the execution also. Okay. I'll show you one more thing here today. Okay. So if anyone has any issue in the real time, right? The users will ask us to debug it. Correct? That is called the debug, which is nothing but the troubleshooting. Let's say now I'm trying to save this. Okay, let's say save. When I say save this, I said this transaction will contains lot of things. Correct? Execution, a record execution. So that is what I mentioned you here. Okay. If you see here, you will see the two logs here. Okay. One log is for your execution. The other log is for once you click on save this page. It is navigating to this page, right? That is called the other log. First, what you have to see is check your size first. Okay, whichever is higher, that will contains the more information. Okay, just double click on it. Once you double click on it, see here, your execution was started, your code was started. Okay, and the duplicate rules was executed because nothing was presented in our organization. We don't have any validation, we don't have any assignment rules, we don't have any other things. So that's the reason it is not going through any of these things. It is going to directly to the duplicate rules. Okay, if the duplicate rules is not there, then we will have it goes to the workflow rules. We have the workflow rules. Correct? The workflow rule has been executed here, and it will check all the workflow rules which we have in our system. Correct? See here, this is executing, and the criteria is true, and the workflow field updates are happening. Correct? If you see all these things, this is the background jobs which is executing, correct? And the record is getting saved. Am I correct? Once the record is saved, nothing will be happen. This is our ID, and action taken is duplicate records, and the entity is this one. So this duplicate things we can ignore because we are not enabled the duplicate rules yet. But when you do some operations from starting to ending, whatever is happening, you are able to understand here, right? If you have a custom validations, if you have a triggers, if you have a workflow rules, if you have a process builder, if you have a flows, everything will be tracked under this. So now you don't have all these things. You have only the workflow rule on this account object. It is getting started and then executing the rule here, right? This is our rule, annual revenue update rule, and then it is being executed. Okay, and with this one we are making the value of the field updates here, correct? These are the only the things which we are doing here, otherwise it won't do anything, correct? Understand, guys? This is called the debugging. So since our arc doesn't have any things yet, you can't see a lot of things, okay? But so slowly you can see a lot of logs here. In real time, the logs size may be, 6 MB of size, 9 MB of size, that 10 MB of the size also. If you imagine that 10 MB of the size of log is, it is very hard to read. But we have to understand that much business behind the scenes, okay? This is very easy to read, right? But in real time it is not like this. It will be a lot of things will be happen behind the scenes. As I said, it will have the validation rules, it will have the lot of triggers, lot of jobs, lot more on the business logic wise. Okay, and this is one important thing, and I have already mentioned you, right? So you can do the development in a many ways. You can do your development using the developer console, or you can do your development using the setup over here. But in this setup, what you can do mostly is you can do your only few things. You can create your apex triggers, you can create your classes, okay? You can't create your lwc, and you can't do your debugging things, okay? That is the limitations. If you want to create the custom code apex class, you can create this apex classes also here. So this is other things which we can discuss later, but I'm telling you the ways of write the code, correct? In this place also you can write the code. In the developer consoles also you can write the code, and VS code also you can write the code. But the recommendation is to go with the VS code because of its advantages. Okay. Okay, you guys have already have this VS code installed, everybody? Okay, so we can, since we have a time, right, we can quickly show you how to create a project. You have add these extensions in your the code. You have added these extensions already, extension pack. Okay, cool. So now what you have to do is we can create our new project here, correct? So to create the new project, what we have to do is we have to create a new project. So for that one we have the control shift P. Okay, this is the terminals, right? So in the view you have the command panel. In this one you will have these values, or else the shortcut is this here, control shift P. Okay, if you enter control shift P, you can enter this one. Okay, if you have installed properly and everything is properly set up, your SFDC will be shown up here. Okay, SFDC colon create project, manifest. Okay, you can click on this and you can put the standard project over here and enter your project name. Okay, training dev. My org name is the training dev. Click enter. It will ask you to the placeholder where exactly you want to have your project. Correct. I'm using my VS the code project separately. So okay, this is my folder. You can have your folder separately, VS code projects, and here you can use your create project.